There are moments in life when everything feels like it's slipping through our fingers, when no matter how hard we try, success seems distant, and every step feels heavy with doubt. The book, Why Negative Thinking Destroys Success, gently unfolds the hidden truth behind these moments. It reveals that failure often doesn't come from a lack of talent, opportunity, or luck. It begins quietly, deep within the mind, in the form of negative thought patterns we allow to grow unchecked. The author invites us to look closely at how our thoughts shape our destiny. A single negative thought may seem harmless, a fleeting doubt, a quiet worry, a whisper of fear. Yet, when such thoughts repeat, they begin to define how we see ourselves and the world. The book explains that negative thinking is like planting weeds in the garden of the mind. The more attention we give them, the more they spread, choking the roots of faith, creativity, and courage that are essential for success. Many people believe that success is about strategy or opportunity, but this book teaches that the true foundation of success is mental alignment. Our inner world mirrors our outer world. When we think negatively, we unconsciously invite limitations into our reality. For instance, a person who constantly says, "I can't, it's too late," or "I'm not good enough," begins to act according to those beliefs. Their words and thoughts create invisible walls that trap them in mediocrity, not because the world limits them, but because their mind has already surrendered. The author tells the story of a young man named Daniel who had a dream to start his own business. Every day, he thought about his idea, but every time he took a step forward, he would think, "What if I fail? What if people laugh at me?" Slowly, fear became stronger than his vision. Years passed, and opportunities slipped by because his mind had become a battlefield where doubt always won. When Daniel finally realized that his failure wasn't in his actions but in his thoughts, he decided to shift his focus. Instead of thinking, "What if I fail?" he began asking, "What if I succeed?" That single shift changed his energy, his decisions, and his destiny. The message here is profound. Our thoughts broadcast energy. Negative thoughts emit resistance, positive ones radiate possibility. When your mind vibrates with fear or complaint, it repels opportunities. When it radiates hope and gratitude, it attracts help, people, and ideas aligned with success. The author compares the mind to a magnet. It can either attract abundance or pull in more problems, depending on what we focus on. Negative thinking also destroys creativity. When we are afraid or pessimistic, our brain closes itself to new ideas. The author uses a striking metaphor: a fearful mind is like a locked room. No light, no air, no inspiration can enter. When you replace fear with curiosity and faith, the room opens, and life begins to flow again. That is why successful people train their minds not to focus on what could go wrong, but on what they can learn, create, and improve. The book doesn't deny that life is full of challenges. It acknowledges pain, loss, and struggle, but it reminds us that the way we interpret those experiences determines whether they break us or build us. Imagine two people losing their jobs on the same day. One falls into despair, thinking, "This is the end of everything." The other says, "Maybe this is my chance to start something new." The situation is identical, but the outcomes differ completely because of mindset. Negative thinking traps us in what we've lost. Positive thinking opens us to what we can still create. The author also speaks about the silent damage negativity causes to relationships. When you constantly criticize, complain, or expect disappointment, you push people away. Negativity creates emotional distance, while positivity nurtures trust, connection, and inspiration. It's not about pretending to be cheerful all the time, it's about choosing a higher perspective. A positive person doesn't ignore problems, they simply refuse to let problems define their reality. At the heart of this book lies a powerful truth: the mind obeys the words you repeat. If you keep saying you are tired, broke, unlucky, or not enough, the subconscious accepts it as truth and shapes your behavior accordingly. But when you affirm strength, gratitude, and belief, even before you see evidence, your subconscious begins working to make it real. This is why the author emphasizes daily mental hygiene. Just as you clean your body, you must also cleanse your mind, by rejecting self-defeating thoughts and replacing them with empowering ones. Real-life examples in the book show how negative thinking can silently sabotage great potential. There's the story of a woman who dreamed of writing a book but always told herself, "Who would read my words?" For years, her manuscript stayed locked in a drawer. When she finally shifted her belief, realizing that her story might heal someone else, her words reached thousands. The lesson is clear: the world often waits for our courage, not our perfection. Negative thinking also feeds procrastination. When we tell ourselves we are not ready, not smart enough, or not capable, we delay our own blessings. The author calls this mental paralysis. The cure, he says, is action, small, consistent action guided by faith. Each step taken in belief weakens the power of doubt. Success doesn't require a perfect mindset, it begins when we act despite our fears and choose to nurture empowering thoughts every day. Another deep insight from the book is that negativity is often a habit passed down or learned from our environment. Many people grew up hearing words of limitation: don't aim too high, that's impossible, be realistic. These voices become internalized, and we repeat them unconsciously. The author challenges us to break this cycle, to reprogram the mind by consciously choosing new beliefs. You may not control what others think or say, but you can always control what you allow to live in your own mind. As the book progresses, it becomes less about escaping negativity and more about mastering awareness. The author teaches that you can't fight darkness by cursing it, you must bring in light. The same goes for thoughts. Don't argue with your negative mind, simply replace it with truth and gratitude. If you wake up anxious, pause and name 3 things you are thankful for. If you catch yourself thinking, I can't, follow it immediately with, I can learn how. Over time, these tiny shifts rebuild confidence and attract new outcomes. The author also explores how negative thinking distorts reality. When you dwell in worry or resentment, your perception narrows, you stop seeing opportunities that are right in front of you. It's like wearing tinted glasses that make everything look dark. Remove them, and the world changes color. This principle is confirmed by science too. The brain literally filters what we notice based on what we expect. So, expecting failure makes us blind to chances of success. Expecting good things opens our mind to them. The closing chapters of the book are filled with quiet wisdom. They remind us that positivity isn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything is perfect, it's about holding faith even when nothing seems to work. It's choosing to believe that setbacks are setups for growth, and that every challenge carries a hidden blessing. The author compares life to a sculptor's chisel. The pressure that shapes the marble also reveals its beauty. To overcome negativity, the book offers 3 guiding principles. First, awareness: notice your thoughts without judgment. Awareness is the doorway to change. Second, reframing: instead of saying, this is too hard, say, this is helping me grow stronger. And third, gratitude, because gratitude dissolves fear. You cannot be thankful and negative at the same time. Gratitude brings you back to the present moment, where life's real power resides. As the book ends, the reader is left with a profound realization: the most powerful weapon against failure is not effort, but belief. What you hold in your mind, you hold in your life. If you nurture fear, you build walls. If you nurture faith, you build bridges. The world responds not to your wishes but to your vibration, the emotional frequency of your thoughts. When you think positively, you align yourself with flow, clarity, and abundance. The transformation that follows is subtle yet extraordinary. You begin to notice beauty where before you saw problems. You attract kind people, supportive circumstances, and meaningful opportunities. Most importantly, you feel at peace with yourself, because your mind is no longer your enemy but your ally. In the end, why negative thinking destroys success is not just a lesson about mindset, it's a spiritual awakening. It teaches us that success is not an external prize but an inner harmony. When your thoughts are pure, hopeful, and confident, the outer world naturally reflects that order. Life stops being a struggle and becomes a dance of alignment between thought and destiny. The message of the book is simple yet eternal: guard your thoughts, for they are the architects of your fate. Choose faith over fear, peace over worry, and love over doubt. When you do, success ceases to be a distant dream, it becomes a natural expression of who you are.